Each year, there's some young athlete who ultimately dies due to some sort of heat-related illness. And every year, someone calls me or they send me pictures. And for many years, I just often thought, well, why are they telling me? I mean, of course I get it. And one day I was standing in my closet and I said to myself, well, someone has to do something. And before I could finish the word something, I realized that the somebody that needed to do something was me.
Wasn't about the money. It was about creating the Institute. And that's what Kelsey wanted, and that's what I wanted. We were going to make a difference so that no other NFL player would ever die on the field.
It was their vision and their belief in us here and me at the University of Connecticut that together we could do something that no one had ever done before.
Something needed to change. We needed something that could effectively impact the deaths that we were seeing.
I give Kelsey, I give Jimmy, I give Doug, I give the NFL all the credit in the world. I don't think they would ever have imagined that it would have grown to what it has today.
The Korey Stringer Institute is a living legacy. It's having a huge impact and it's saving lives all over the country.
The last 12 years have definitively shown that there was a massive need for something like the Korey Stringer Institute.
We do the things that we do at KSI in his namesake. He would be super proud of the things that we've been able to accomplish.
It's not so much about the legacy of Korey as it is about saving lives.
April 2010, we opened our doors. We knew our focus was going to be trying to enhance health and safety issues for the warfighter, the laborer, and the athlete.
I think we've been the voice to really start bringing the attention to, hey, we can change things and we can save lives.
The mission of the Korey Stringer Institute is to maximize performance and safety in the physically active.
We have research. We have advocacy, where we're trying to enhance health and safety policies, like a public health perspective. We have consultation, where we're individually helping districts, parents, athletes, military bases on an individual basis to help them enhance their own situation. And the last is education.
We want to be able to share the information that we've learned so that we can make sport safer, so that we can make working in warm conditions safer, so that we can make military training safer.
We are all just so passionate about what we do, and it just is contagious.
We've stayed true to what we set out to do in the beginning.
My story kind of unfolds long before the beginning of the Korey Stringer Institute. So back in 1985, I was running a 10K race on the track in upstate New York, and I suffered an exertional heat stroke.
I remember he was kind of staggering as he came toward the third turn, and I commented to the doctor, I said, this guy's in a little bit of trouble here.
He recognized it as heat stroke right away, started cooling me on site probably within a minute. There was an ambulance right there. They continued cooling me, took me to Millard Fillmore Hospital, and I was amazingly fortunate again to have an emergency room physician who had experience with heat stroke, and he put me in a cold water ice bath in 1985 in a hospital, which is just unheard of. And it was that night in my hospital room I knew I was gonna pursue this as my interest.
Our connection to KSI started in August of 2018 after our son Zach had an exertional heat stroke.
While he was in the hospital, we were Googling heat stroke and stumbled upon KSI. They were at the top of the list. And then what gave us some hope, once we knew Zach was going to live, the opportunity to get tested and do that safely through the testing and other work that KSI was doing.
People have told me what happened was we finished our rep. They send me over to the trainers where I sit down. Eventually I collapsed.
He continued to deteriorate. From there, we implemented our emergency action plan to take care of the situation. It was a long recovery. Korey Stringer Institute was there every step of the way.
They sent me there. I went multiple times. I did training stuff. I tested there, and ultimately they cleared me to begin my career.
One quote that really stuck out to me, that was Dr. Costa saying, if you cool an athlete, they don't die, period. And the more I looked into all of the resources on the Korey Stringer Institute, it just backed up that theory. They have become an enormous source of resources, education, and support for the Zach Martin Foundation, for my husband Ed and I personally.
And yet we're still dealing with kids across the country who are dying from heat stroke. In the last 2 years, 14 high school football players have died from heat stroke. That is crazy for a lot of reasons. One, they're not implementing the proper prevention strategies to prevent it from happening in the first place, but then they're not implementing the proper treatment strategies after it presents itself. The example being a cold water immersion tub. That's just one example of many policies that we're working on that, if implemented, we could see the changes. And we certainly have seen it. We've seen hundreds of cases where cold water immersion tub have saved people's lives. But we still have instances where it's not being utilized. And it's, obviously motivates us every day at KSI to, to keep working on these things.
One of the things we knew is that there was also a need for a really comprehensive and dedicated educational opportunity for medical providers that focused on catastrophic injury in sport.
We created a book called Preventing Sudden Death in Sport that's now in its second edition. And we also have an associated CEU course for that, so a continuing education course that was specifically built, a really robust course.
And so that was the first of its kind and brought together all of the major causes of sudden death in sport into one course so that we could offer that to medical providers.
It's been 7 years that we've been tracking the athletic training services in 21,000 high schools with athletics across the country through a project called the Atlas Project. We believe every single high school in the country should have an athletic trainer. These kids deserve care. You wouldn't send your kid to the pool without a lifeguard. You wouldn't send them to school without a nurse or someone to potentially take care of them. So why would they go to a school and play sports without having appropriate medical care?
So we knew early on we were going to have to find a way to have more of a world-class research center. And we ended up raising over $700,000 to build a world-class facility that's called the Mission Heat Lab at UConn's Korey Institute.
That one room that we have has brought in more funding and done more for athletes than any other room in this entire building.
We're able to do a lot of different scenarios and circumstances within a controlled environment.
We have been able to test Olympians, prepare them for soccer in Tokyo. We have been able to prepare Ironman athletes for competing in Kona, Hawaii. High-level athletes and high-level programs know that we can deliver when it comes to their needs.
One of our passion projects here, there's no question, and maybe the most important thing that we're doing right now is the Team Up for Sport Safety project.
Tufts hopes to propel policy adoption forward, and specifically the policies that have been proven to reduce sudden death in sport.
For the last 3 years, we've been visiting these states. Over 25 states have been visited, over 40 visits altogether because some states have had multiple visits, and we've seen profound changes.
On average, states are adopting significantly more policies after we've been able to visit with them compared to those states that we haven't visited yet.
The Innovate Project, its goal is to be able to provide resources to communities who have never been able to afford an athletic trainer before. 34% of the high schools in the United States that have athletics have no athletic trainers.
And we've been able to target those schools that need athletic training services the most, which is what the Innovate Project provides.
People do think that we're only focused on sports, but the warfighter and also the laborer suffer a lot of the same injuries that we're addressing in sports.
The National Heat Safety Coalition is a branch of KSI that is entirely focused on the occupational worker and laborer. What we do is we focus on research initiatives related to occupational heat stress, and we also have a website that's really thought of as a knowledge hub for where any business, supervisor, employer, or even worker can go to and get resources to better educate them on the dangers of heat.
Our military members are athletes.
We've been on base multiple times at Fort Benning, at Fort Bragg, at Lackland Air Force Base.
Working side by side with their medical staff to help brainstorm ideas on what can we do better? How can we protect our warfighters so that they're in the best position possible when they're deployed.
The DoD has been critical in funding a lot of the research that we do at the Korey Institute. We also have a track record of completing these grants on time and at the highest level of science.
KSI's founding partners are the NFL, Gatorade, and the University of Connecticut. And we've been super fortunate to have all three of those entities with us during this entire 12-year journey.
We're incredibly grateful that they've shown their investment and dedication to our mission and goals by being with us this entire time.
The University of Connecticut, our department head, Dr. DiStefano, our dean, Indrajit Chabi, they have really supported us and allowed us and really believed in the passion and the potential of KSI, and they've provided us this incredible home of which it's been the jumping off point to have this international influence.
The Korey Stringer Institute has afforded the opportunity to spread our mission, to spread our creed across the country.
What we're doing now is, the sort of the trickle-down effect, getting it into the, medicine, emergency medicine certainly, and now into EMS.
More states are contacting KSI. We're not out there trying to promote ourselves. There's no need to do that. States know about us and they're reaching out to us.
It's interesting how people actually recognize KSI from the international standpoint. They recognize us the one who provide them the evidence that they need to really, practice what they should be doing.
We're starting to see real policy change happen.
These organizations yearn for our leadership. We need to do a better job of continuing to educate them.
What I would love to see is for KSI to continue advocating for athlete safety. I think we all can share in a part doing that with them.
Well, I think we would want to thank KSI. They really went above and beyond for us.
For being leaders and setting an example for how to affect change on a national level.
There's long days and long hours that are put into making this happen. I think at the end of the day, what you were able to do and what you created really is important work.
These are the brilliant minds of research. They've gone on to do great things. They'll continue to do great things. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it.
We've been able to save lives. We've been able to push research forward.
These laws and these policies, they are going to save lives.
I feel like the 10-year anniversary, even though it's been delayed, that our celebration will kind of bring everything full circle. I believe that the world's better off today because Korey was in it.
We've worked tirelessly over the last 12 years to really properly honor the legacy of Korey, and I believe that we have, and I'm very proud of that.